Good.
All right, let's get this started. Adam, if industrial design were a deep sea mollusk, you would be the meaty, translucent innards.
Welcome to Engineer versus Designer.
The podcast.
For engineers, designers, and people who make slightly terrifying yet beautiful fashion jewelry, my name is Adam, industrial designer of CADjunkie.com.
And my name is Josh, mechanical engineer of SolidSmack.com. If you're one of the 6 people,
including our mothers,
who tune in, you know each week's show cracks the airwaves in 3 glorious halves. This week, we're looking at digital tools in fine art. We'll start with the top product design stories from the week's news, courtesy of SolidSmack.com.
Followed by design process tips, tricks, and Q&A compliments of CADjunkie.com.
And in the third half, we'll talk with special guest Anthony Tammaro, shifting reality through design at AnthonyTammaro.com, where he uses additive manufacturing processes to create fine art jewelry inspired by nature.
Welcome, Anthony. It is such a pleasure to have you on the show today. In one sentence, if you could make any 1980s sci-fi toy into a reality, which one would you choose?
This is a tough question because there are so many good ones. I was thinking about this and I realized that it would be the Star Wars Millennium Falcon. I can just imagine,
Yes.
zooming around the galaxy.
Okay, Anthony, great choice. Stay put. We'll be hearing more from you as the show goes on. Josh Mings of SolidSmack.com.
Oh, yes.
Welcome in the New Year's baby with the butt smack of knowledge. What have you got for us this week?
All right, this week we're having fun with Shapeways. Our guest Anthony Tammaro creates amazing 3D printed jewelry, some of which you can see on Shapeways.com. And now
we are doing a contest, folks, a necklace design contest. First of the new year and first for EVD.
That's right. Design the coolest necklace you can imagine, and the winner will have their design printed up to $200 by Shapeways, and also snag a snazzy EVD t-shirt. Sorry, Anthony, no entry from you, as you get to judge the contest. Surprise!
Oh, man. Just upload your model at shapeways.com and tag it with the word EVD. We're going to keep the contest going until we get at least one entry.
At least one.
Or January 31st, whichever comes first. So hit shapeways.com for some inspiration and upload those models. Josh, the news.
Yes. First off, there is magic in the world, and it comes in the form of Sugru. Sugru is an air-curing rubber that can be formed by hand. You can shape, stick, and mold it to just about anything you can imagine, and it's extremely durable. Now, this magical substance has been around a while, but I'm convinced you'll start seeing more of it. You can get it online at MakerBot or Sugru.com.
3D printing is all the rage, of course, but what if you could do it yourself with your hands?
Oh.
Haptic Intelligentsia is aiming the haptic glove of happiness at the idea, allowing you to build your object layer by layer with a glue gun attached to a sensible 6 degrees of freedom haptic device. It's
Nice.
truly a blend of physical interaction with the 3D digital model. Words simply cannot do this justice, so check out the video at EngineerVsDesigner.com.
Right on.
And Josh, if you didn't make that up,
It's for real.
Wow.
Yep, believe me. And if you're a regular listener, you'll know we love a good Kickstarter project.
Love it.
And if you're interested in starting one of your own, there are a few keys to success besides not choosing an idea that sucks that you might want to know.
That's usually my problem.
Patent attorney Kevin Price started one of his own on a book of patent art, had it successfully funded, and is passing the knowledge on to you over at IPWatchdog.com.
There's nothing quite like having 111 5-euro-cent coins hanging around stylishly on your neck. Michael Cornelison is making all of that possible for you with the E5.55, a 3D printed necklace design that holds all of those coins in place, creating a clustered array of coppery couture. You can buy the full necklace on his website or buy the 3D printed piece via Shapeways and use your own coinage to customize the look. Hot.
Yeah. You can pick up the new version of 123D Beta 8 for free 3D modeling at 123dapp.com.
2011 saw a whole bunch of iPad apps for CAD, and that number is expected to double in 2012.
And if you're wondering what comes after LED TVs and monitors, get ready for quantum dot displays coming to your desktop soon.
And Engineer versus Designer, SolidSmack, and CADjunkie are officially joining forces.
Oh, yeah.
You better be looking for new site updates and more coming real soon. In fact, if you're hearing this, it's probably January 2nd or later, which means you might even just check out the sites right now. And that 3D printed necklace thing is interesting. But what about this Sugru? Have you used it yet?
I have not used it. I've wanted to, and I've just ordered 5 barrels of it to mold my buttocks. The stuff is amazing. Now, it's a Formarol. It's a patented formable silicone technology and can be used to mold anything from tools and make repairs, a mask to cover horrible scars, or even mold jewelry. So, Anthony, what do you think about that?
Well, I think that, the more products we have to make beautiful jewelry, I think it's just wonderful. I think the fact that you're actually doing something with your hands is great, too. So I'm up for it. I want to get a couple of barrels, and maybe I'll mold the front part of my body as the rear part of the body.
It's kind of interesting stuff. I've seen a lot of things with it. It's really cool. It's kind of like Play-Doh, right? It's like like Play-Doh that can harden but not. It's kind of this weird mixture of properties that can just do a lot of different things. And what's kind of odd about it, I don't know. I can't get into it. I have to admit, I'm struggling with it because it no matter what you do with it, it still looks like you've got Play-Doh all over your glasses or whatever. And I don't know. Maybe it's just the industrial designer in me, but it's kind of weird.
Yeah, there's definitely a look that you don't really want to give to a certain product. It looks like a patch repair job on some of the things, but it's got some practical applications that I think look good. And if you're just using it alone to make some stuff, it looks pretty cool, especially the color stuff.
Oh man, 3D iPad apps. Do we need more of those?
Sure, why not?
Anthony, what do you think?
So I think it's really great for actually showing your work. I'm not really sure of how practical it is for actually creating your work. I think that it's definitely in a few years. I think that it could be super useful, to have these things. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, that sets it up. We'll be looking for the EVD 3D CAD iPad app coming out this summer.
Not?
We'll be right back. Adam O'Hearn of CADJunkie.com. The time has come to fry our ignorance bacon with the griddle pan of knowledge, buddy. What have you got for us this week?
This week's CAD Junkie Q&A is brought to you by the first EVD 3D printing contest ever.
Yeah.
With our friends over at Shapeways. Upload those necklace designs at shapeways.com. Tag them with the word EVD and win a print of your design. More at evd1.tv and at shapeways.com. So excited.
Excellent. Today we're chatting with Anthony Tammaro, fine art jewelry designer of AnthonyTammaro.com.
So Anthony, in a few minutes we're going to be talking about the real motivations behind your work, the backstory, the inspiration.
The mojo.
The voodoo mojo behind what you do. But first, good grief, your stuff is insane, and I just want to talk shop with you for just a minute here. You're doing stuff that is unbelievably organic. Some of it looks like internal organs, like prosthetics maybe. Some of it is just completely abstract, flowing, repetitive patterns. And doing all that in a way that can only be done using these crazy new digital tools we all take for granted these days. Can you tell us a little bit more about the technical side of your process? And we'll talk about where the ideas come from in a minute. But let's say you've got an idea for a necklace that looks a certain way. Where do you go from there? How do you start? With hand sketches, or do you go straight digital?
Well, that depends. It actually depends on the mood that I'm in because, my studio practice when I'm making the artwork really, it's like going to the gym for me. I set out a block of time and I sit in front of my computer and even if nothing's coming, sometimes I'm just staring at a blank screen and just daydreaming. Sometimes I actually take active naps, so to speak, where I'll kind of nap and think about what I want to achieve. And
I'm sorry, Anthony, you are my kind of guy. Not only do you call sitting at your computer going to the gym, you also take active naps. I'm a big fan already.
Yeah, I think that the brain really functions a little bit better when you're able to nap a bit and daydream, so to speak, about what you want to do. And I guess I don't think that would work when I'm doing my commission work, like for my jewelry design stuff. I don't think that the people who are paying me would appreciate me doing an active nap, so to speak. But for me in my studio, it works really well.
Right.
There's also other times when I'm when I'm stuck with something, and for me to try to actually create it digitally might be difficult. So I could do some sketching. I know that I think that my digital creation skills are a little bit stronger than my hand sketching skills. So sometimes I tend to rely on just jumping right into the software and tweaking. I also
so you've had your active nap. You've got your sketches or your digital sketches or whatever. How do you go about usually building it from there? What kind of tools do you use?
As far as the tools, I mostly start with Rhino. For me, I've just taken to Rhino to the point where it's like second nature, almost to a fault sometimes. Whereas sometimes I feel like I might be using the same 5 tricks. But usually I start with Rhino. I block some things out with Rhino, and then if I need to do some other types of massaging or whatever, I can take those Rhino files and transfer them into other software packages like SolidWorks or Magix or something like that, and then do a little bit more tweaking and kind of go the extra mile in a way. That's
really interesting. I'm just curious, what would you then use SolidWorks or Magix for? Magix in particular, I'm really curious what you would plan on using that for after Rhino.
I guess I shouldn't say this because my graduate professor would probably be a little bit disappointed in me, but sometimes I'm not able to finish the job totally with something like Rhino because, as you probably know, Rhinos is a really great surfacing tool, but sometimes my pieces have components that have to interact with other silicone parts, and sometimes it's difficult to accomplish those things with Rhino the way that I work. So sometimes I'll use SolidWorks to do processes that are more exacting in a way, and also Magix is, as you probably know, is really wonderful if I need to split things apart and measure things very precisely and calculate if there's going to be any kind of shrinkage or warpage, that kind of thing. It's also great for checking when I'm making when I'm going to be CNC cutting molds for any kind of silicone that I'm going to be casting. Magix works really well to check those molds, and also SolidWorks for any kind, if I have to think about draft angles.
Sure. So I mean, basically, using a multiple tool work environment really enables you to do a lot of things you couldn't do with a single tool. I'm really curious. I want to go back and ask you why your graduate professor would be upset about that.
I think that within the graduate program that I was attending, that we were being taught basically the new classics of using one type of software and becoming really proficient with that type of software. So you possibly don't have to use Magix to make sure that you have no naked edges, or you have no your normals are all facing the proper direction to have it printed. Because for that program, for that educational program, the final product was an STL, a solid STL that could be sent to a rapid prototyping machine and could be realized in a tangible state. So for someone who is maybe a year or two into a type of software to say, well, I'm just going to throw these curves together, do a couple of sweeps, get a form, and then throw it.
I see what you're saying. So you're saying by using multiple tools, your professors were concerned that you might throw craftsmanship out the door and just kind of be careless and use tools as a way of hack and slashing your way through it, as opposed to using each tool for what it's best suited. And I think that's definitely valid. I think I could also talk about this all day long, and I think I want to hear more about your work. So why don't we go ahead and take a break?
Sounds good. We'll be right back, people. And welcome back. Today, as you know, we are chatting with Anthony Tammaro of AnthonyTammaro.com, artist, designer, jewelry maker, and digital fabrication aficionado.
We asked him to come on the show because he's using engineering design tools to create highly organic fine art jewelry, and it is just plain cool.
Very cool. So, Anthony, did you come out of the womb using rapid prototyping machines to make jewelry? And if so, that's really cool. And if not, how did you get started?
Well, I mean, I wish I could say that I came on the scene, out of the womb with the rapid prototyping stuff, because that would make me really young and sprightly. But that's not the case. But I guess, without going all the way back to the very, very beginning, when I was growing up, the people around me, my parents, my parents' friends, and they all worked, and they worked with their hands, whether they were at work or whether they were at home. So I saw a lot of people doing stuff and kind of making stuff. And, some of the people were making stuff pretty well, and other people were just kind of making it like, well, it just has to work. So very early on, I was exposed to, I guess, a certain level of creativity, not necessarily artistic, but definitely creativity towards a functional bend of having to get something done and having it work. As you may have seen from my CV, I've had a pretty extensive amount of education as far as getting to a point where I can be self-sufficient. I think a lot of that also was just me being so excited about learning and about things that were going on. I'm very interested in just everything and learning.
Yeah, you're an intellectually curious person. I mean, and obviously, since you brought it up, I mean, you have done quite a bit of schooling. You did a BFA at University of the Arts in Philly, a professional studies in industrial design at Domus in Milan, and then more professional studies in design management at Pratt, and then an MFA in jewelry from Temple University. Whew, did I miss anything? That's quite a bit of schooling.
There's workshops in there too, but
that's quite a bit of schooling. So, I mean, can you talk a little bit about the decision to go back to school and whether or not you found it useful to you in the long run?
Well, I've certainly found all of my education extremely useful. I mean, in hindsight, it's possible that some of the decisions to go back to school were possibly. I don't know. I like to say that every time I graduated from one program, the economy crashed, and I had to, and I was just kind of struggling a bit. So I decided, hey, it's a great time to go back to school, learn something new. Have some more tricks to improve your toolbox. But mostly it was just because I was so curious about what's going on in the world. What are people learning and what are people doing, and how can I acquire more skills to keep myself fresh and to keep a positive outlook on where I'm going and not be bored. I think a lot of it also is that sometimes I get really bored. I get kind of anxious, and it's just a really great opportunity to get into a program, an educational program with some younger people who are really excited about stuff, and to be exposed to something that someone has put together, like some kind of curriculum, and then struggle with it, to get yourself off balance, to get yourself to a position where you're not in control. You don't really know what the hell you're doing, and to work through that,
Yeah. And now the work you're doing, it's really challenging on multiple levels, and it's probably isn't received well by everyone who views it. So what advice do you have for people who have an idea for something that's really far out of the ordinary, and who might see a little pushback from those who might not be ready for it yet?
Well, I think that there's always pushback. There's always people who are the naysayers, who they're coming from a place of fear and anxiety, and they don't want to believe that that something could work. They want to stay in a very safe spot. And I would say that if you're coming from a spot of a place of knowledge and intelligence, and you really believe in what your idea is, that you should really pursue it. Because when I believe it was Stephen Jobs was telling IBM, like, we're going to make these computers, and they're going to be in your house, and they're going to be portable. And I'm pretty sure IBM were the people who said, no, I don't think that's going to work. I can't imagine that people are going to want to have computers in their house. I mean, what would they do with them?
Yep.
It's kind of ridiculous, you know.
Yep. Well, for the first time in 2012, we are out of time. So be sure to check out Anthony's work at anthonytammaro.com. Anthony, having you on the show has been even better than that time Adam dressed up like Father Time, drank too many juice boxes, and urinated in the flower bed. Thanks so much for being with us.
Well, thank you guys. It was a real pleasure and honor. I did enjoy it.
If you would like to send crates of juice boxes to EVD HQ, please address those to Adam.
All right, and if you'd like to send crates of used Q-tips, address those to Adam as well. Engineer versus Designer appreciates your comments. If you'd like to flip us the so-called bird, head over to EngineerVsDesigner.com and flip away.
And if you'd like to see us blow ourselves up with Acme TNT by accident while not catching that dang Roadrunner, be sure to like us, +1 us, follow us, or whatever, as social media has been correlated with delusionally myopic focus on trivialities that never lead to satisfaction.
The show is edited by the Simon Martin. Our theme music is by Ross Hartman.
We'll see you next week, and remember, without designers, engineers would run amok, fastening everything together with rivets.
And without engineers, designers would tie everything together with pretty ribbons.
Dog feathers.
Whale fingers.